Welcome to the Nurses Beyond Borders podcast. The podcast where we shine light on the incredible journey of internationally educated nurse academics shaping the future of nursing in the UK, and I'm your host Joshi for today. Today, I'm honored to have a truly inspiring and a friendly guest, Rincy. Rincy is a dedicated healthcare professional with a vast background in diabetes care, clinical research, and international workforce development. From working as an NIHR Good Clinical Practice Research Facilitator to being a diabetes specialist nurse and a renal clinical nurse manager, Rincy has also worked as practice-based educator, as a Daphne facilitator. Rincy has worn many hats in the medical and academic world. Her work spans from local initiatives to international collaborations, making a significant impact on patient care, education, and policy development. She has been instrumental in supporting the WHO's workforce planning projects in Kenya and Uganda, a panel member for the Kerala Nurses UK Annual Conference in 2024, and she has received recognition at the Westminster for her stem cell donation advocacy. Her passion for mentoring, education, and community services is evident in her involvement with the Upkar charity for stem cell donor, her contributions to global nursing webinars, and her role in student exchange programs with India and Finland. But beyond her professional achievements, Rincy is also a storyteller, a poet, and a scriptwriter, using creativity to inspire and connect with others. Welcome, Rincy.
Thank you, Joshi. Thank you for this fantastic opportunity for me to speak to you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rincy. So your journey is incredible, from a little town in Kerala to Manchester in the United Kingdom. So what inspired you, Rincy, to pursue nursing?
That's a very interesting question. If I am being very honest, I wouldn't say I was very passionate about nursing. As you may know from the background from you and me are from India, once you are good in your studies, automatically people think you would go to medicine or engineering. And I always had an interest in healthcare field. So I appeared for the entrance examination for medicine, but it's a very limited seat and you've got to be in the first 400 for the state where 100,000 people apply for this exam. So I wasn't lucky at that time. So the next option, I could have gone for Ayurvedic medicine, but that did mean that you've got to learn Sanskrit, which is a very classical language. So that wasn't a keen option for me then. So the next option was for me to join nursing. So I appeared for the All India medical entrance to study at one of the premier institute in India, which is AIMS, New Delhi. So this is again a very competitive exam. You have entrance examination throughout India, and you get the first 50. You can get the scholarship, paid opportunity to study nursing, BSc Honours Nursing. So I was fortunate to be one of them, and then it was the starting of an incredible journey that has made me sit here today. So I'm full of gratitude for those, the opportunity, that exposure, and the doors that opened as part of being in that nursing community.
Thanks, Rincy. Thank you. So what motivated you to move to the UK then?
Again, I think I'm a person of having, who gives a lot of importance to friendship, family, friendship, that is just something that holds me so tightly together. So I had some of my friends, we as a group of friends, we planned to do the NCLEX-RN exam and move to US. All my friends, at that time we had to go to US to do the NCLEX-RN exam. I was getting prepared, but there was some issue with my date of birth in my passport. So all my very, very close, thick friends went for the exam in US, and I was left all by myself, all alone in India. So then I had obviously as a young adult, your friends are your world then. So it was a very difficult time then, but at the same time some of my friends also came over to here to UK, and they said, why don't you come to UK? And I wouldn't say my intention at that time to move to overseas countries was to build my career or to be part of the global nursing community or anything like that. It was just an adventure, excitement, moving across the borders to be with friends. That is the true part of the story. But
Fantastic.
Once I've come over here, then the story changed massively.
Oh, wow. What, you just attempted it, just for an adventure purpose, but then it's changed you a lot.
Very dramatically. Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned that, you had an issue with your passport.
Yes.
For going to US, but then you are flying all over the world now, to Uganda, to Kenya, and everywhere. So that's incredible, Rinse. So how was your first day in the NHS? What were the challenges?
Yeah, I would say that more than the challenges, I think it was all to do with the endless possibilities. When I did my nursing back in India, it's especially in All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. It's a very highly demanding course with a lot of clinical focus. You learn along with some of the medical students a lot of biochemistry, anatomy, physiology and all that. But once you become a qualified nurse, the recognition that you get for your clinical skills is not that valued, or you feel like there is this bureaucracy. You still feel working under the medical professionals. So when I came over here, it was a totally different experience, and I could feel that you get empowered. You could work within your remit, but highly valued. Everybody plays a huge role in NHS, from the cleaner to the consultant to the director of the hospital. So I felt each and everybody's contribution is highly valued, and that pride and prestige that you have in your area of work, no matter I think beyond your status, beyond your band, whether it's a band 1 or band 7, you feel fulfilled. And that was a huge I would say like an eye-opener for me, and it was a very humbling experience, to be honest, very humbling. I remember, one of the things I remember very vividly still now is in one of those initial days we had I was part of the handover, the ward rounds, and one of the patient vomited as we were speaking. The doctors, the consultants, nurses, everybody, together. And as the patient vomited, the consultant quickly grabbed some tissue and tried cleaning his face and the bed sheets and everything. But that was such a humbling experience for me. Whereas back home in India, it would be totally different. And there is no such social classes here. Everybody is valued equally. So I would say, rather than focusing on the challenges I experienced, I wouldn't say much of a challenge, because English was not a problem for me, because I had a convent education with as an English as a medium of education from from kindergarten onwards. Yes, I did struggle with the accent, and especially Mancunian accent. And when they say some colloquial terms and phrases, it was it was a bit of a struggle. Probably it is still the same. I encounter people with different accents, but the general, otherwise, communication was not a big problem, and I enjoyed speaking to the patients, especially the elderly people. You could just sit and talk for ages. They articulate so well their stories. So so I think I am going off the tangent here. Your question was, how was your first day? Yeah. Rather than the challenges, it was all that wonderment, excitement, feeling empowered, feeling that you share equal status, or you are a key part, or you are an important part of the team. I think that made me feel much better, and I think that helped me to look out for opportunities and explore further. I've moved from jobs after jobs. So I think that helped me.
Okay, So you found your purpose here, can I say?
Absolutely. Although I didn't start with a goal, to be honest, when I started nursing, yes, my mom is a nurse, but I don't think that heavily influenced me. I've seen her always as a kind and caring person, always nurturing. She was a popular figure in our village. People used to come to her for advice and all. So I think I always liked that part of her, being that nurse in her always, and and I think you mimic what you had seen. But but once you've come here, I think I found the purpose, and I started valuing my profession as a nurse. I think that is a deep truth, to be honest.
So in your journey, it was not much of challenges, can I say? It was more of being resilient and then picking up the opportunities you got.
Yes. I think when this is my personal opinion, I sometimes talk about people. I sometimes hear people talking about their challenges, or especially getting integrating with cultures, and sometimes feel they are isolated, etc. But I think it's an individual perspective. If you can forget and forgive and get along, with everything, wherever you are, you will see people with different perspectives, different natures. So as long as you are an accommodative person, you can tolerate things. You could. I didn't had lots of challenges, obviously, but it is how you. Your perspective, how you take things, how you move on. So I think it's more of a what you say, an empowering journey, or more of a satisfying, fulfilling journey.
Okay. So from the clinicals to the academia, what motivated you to move from the clinical practice to the teaching nursing area?
I always loved teaching. Even working as a diabetes specialist nurse, or in my early days working in MAU, I was always interested in doing the ward-based teaching, or as part of the Daphne facilitator role, we used to do group education for patients. So, and again, any opportunity to teach or do any education, I have always contributed. So I think when I was working as a diabetes specialist nurse, especially as a pump specialist nurse, every time you find a new pump, new technology, I'm a person who wants to read the leaflet, go through the booklet. Whereas I know some people, some of my colleagues, if you find a new insulin pump, they just press the button on and start with that. Whereas I can't do that. I'm not a practical person. I have to read the book. Read that whole entire leaflet and the instruction, or what do you call the manual, etc. So they always, my friends used to tease me, oh Rinsi, you are the person, any troubleshooting comes, they'll say, oh, let's ask Rinsi, she would have read and she will know the answer. So, and then they always said, you've got to be teaching, Rinsi, and then I would be able to say the positives and negatives and how to find, although I'm not a practical person, I can then relate to the theory behind it. So my friends used to say you should go into teaching, and I'm a Sunday school teacher, and I love teaching children. So when the opportunity came, I thought, why not? I should move to university, teach nursing. And in fact, one of my friend, Sheetal, I would, I love to acknowledge her name. And she said, Rinsi, so when I was debating, should I move to academia? Am I going to miss my patients? Because obviously you build a rapport with your patients, patients with type 1 diabetes, and you share their stories, you share their challenges, and some of the consultations you are not actually doing anything to do with the diabetes. It's more to do with just listening to them, just that active listening, that empathetic listening. And sometimes it might be just writing a letter to their employer to say that, could you please adjust their break time so that they could have that good 20-25 minutes of break, so they can take their insulin on time 10 to 15 minutes before, so that the post-meal blood glucose is looking a bit better. Those little changes you would only know when you actually speak to your patient, rather than looking at the blood glucose profile or all these fantastic technologies. So that so I was debating, if I move into academia, am I going to miss those powerful conversations I used to have with my patients? I used to drive home thinking, feeling so full, that I've made a subtle change in somebody's life. I've made them smile, and I have had patients coming back and saying to me, Rinsi, that letter has made a huge change. Now that I can take that good half an hour break, do what you teach in Daphne, and then see the change in my glycemic profile or diabetes profile. And I go, I drive home, reflecting on all these conversations we had, feeling so full of gratitude for making me part of somebody's life. So then when I was debating whether I should come to university, miss those conversations, one of my friend, like I said, Sheetal, she said to me, Rinsi, when you continue to be in the clinical field, you might inspire few of us or few people, but when you go to university, you're going to inspire the entire new nursing students, a whole new generation of nurses to come into NHS. And that made me think, it was a powerful statement that made me think, yes, that is a call, there is a vision, there is a reason, so even if I miss my patients, my journey is going to be still worthwhile. I might be part of so many students' memories or journeys. So that is why I ended coming up into academia.
Fantastic. We should say thanks to your friend, or else we would have missed a wonderful educator who is specialized in diabetes here in the teaching field for nursing. So you did your master's here, didn't you, Rinsi?
Yes.
So having done your undergrads in India and then doing a master's in the UK, how was the educational system here? How did you find yourself settling in with the new system of education?
I would say that there was a huge difference in that. So I did my 4 years of BSc Honours Nursing in Delhi. As you know, it's a very esteemed institution. So the curriculum is very rigorous, but it's more exam oriented. That is how we learn exams. We did do a lot of case study presentations, seminars, and we. So I think we had lots of such opportunities, but coming to academic writing, that was very new to me when I came over here. So if I remember correctly, we had to do assignments as part of the 4 years, but I don't think they were summative ones. We had to do formative ones, but your exams, the final written exams, were the ones that that determined your grades. So coming over to here and starting my Masters in Advanced Nursing Studies at Manchester University, the very first module I had was evidence-based practice. Okay. Now, this is the time when you are at the peak of your adulthood, young adulthood, starting a new family, marriage, babies, and so you could, and then doing a full-time work as well. So studies was, if you think about your whole equation, that was at the end of, so probably the first module I didn't, I had very good attendance and engagement, but I didn't I didn't understand the importance of having the supervision sessions, etc. So I did the assignment, but I didn't really do it well. Mm-hmm. So I failed my first assignment on evidence-based practice. So I have shared my experience with the international students who had come over to our university here, just to inspire them the importance of understanding the assessment brief, utilizing the opportunities for supervision, etc., so that you can the importance of practice for success. Yeah, in fact, I didn't put my practice for success or anything, so there was no feedback given to me. So when I submitted the work, the criticisms were that there wasn't a lot of critical appraisal, etc. So that is when I started thinking about I think I started working on my feedback. Then I realized maybe my first work was more descriptive. There was a lot of statistics, etc., incorporated in it, but maybe it lacked that critical depth. So since then, I have, started exploring, how to write critically, and then, I was able to make a huge difference, and subsequently all the assignments, I scored good marks, and I did statistics just out of interest, and had very high marks and all that. But my learning, it was a huge, steep learning curve, and I realized the importance of, engaging with with the assessment brief, engaging with the supervision opportunities, understanding, what actually it asks you to do, rather than, going with your preconceived ideas. Probably it is because of my lack of understanding of how, assignments work here, and contacting your supervisor, asking them, getting the feedback and working on the feedback. And so that failure actually paved as a stepping stone for me. Mm. So it helped me with my critical thinking and analysis, which was altogether a new topic for me, something very new. Yeah.
So with this vast experience, as an internationally educated nurse, what do you bring into the academia here in shaping the future nurses? What role do you play in decolonization of nursing curriculum here, do you think?
Yeah, so I know this decolonization word, probably we started hearing these, in the last few years' time. Mm-hmm. But knowingly or unknowingly, I knew it, in my mind, So as a nurse working in MAU, yes, I know, when you think about somebody who is collapsing, you would think about, cold, clammy skin and, going blue and all sorts, that cyanosis. But I knew from me being with a dark skin, with a multicultural society that we are living in Manchester, especially, with people from all different backgrounds, Indian, South Asian, Black, and different backgrounds. I knew those, some of those things were not, the textbook wasn't, actually applicable to what we see in the real life scenario. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that, this makes me, so I have given this as an example to my students, somebody somewhere did think about it, I did think about it, but I never took the initiative to do a research or publish anything or, make people aware and cascade and escalate these concerns. But somebody, that simple thought, made them to think about the importance of decolonizing the curriculum, decolonizing the medical field itself. How do you classify according to the skin texture? How do you differentiate the difference between the wound? How do you identify a wound getting deteriorated in somebody with a light skin, brown skin, and a black skin? That itself has opened a lot of research and interest in the world of academia, in medical world, or in the nursing field. But that little thought somebody had, has dramatically changed, isn't it? Yeah. So, and I always quote one of my friend, Ajimol, who has done a lot of research into organ donations. So from her, journey, as a diploma nurse and then becoming, doing masters here. So a question that she had, why is there a huge delay for South Asians in getting the organs compared to the others? And that actually sparked, her curiosity, and she did her PhD in that, and she is part of this Ubahar, stem cell and organ donation, and I am also part of that. Initially, inspired by one of my close friends' journey through cancer, but then, to support, everybody else who is going through it. So what makes me think is that, so I tell all these stories to the second year nursing students to say that, sometimes when especially our students think, why do I have to learn about research? What is all this, annotated bibliography, literature review? I'm not going to do any research in the future. I just want to become a nurse and just work. So they distinguish themselves as a practical nurse, and research is something altogether separate. This is where I bring these simple examples and tell them that, that research can be embedded, that is there in all of us. It is how we find that little sparks and, bring, and one of them is decolonization. So I think, with our background, traveling, crossing oceans, with our diverse, cultural background and perspectives, and the ability for us to be part of, that cultural congruence. Or I think cultural congruence stands at the top, that competence and then that congruence, which you have accumulated over the years. So when we have, people with brown and black and, all different sorts of skin in the academia, I think that will inspire the future generations of nurses to become, to excel in their role, and, to do that, to kindle those sparks, that eureka moments you have in your life, in your professional life, to do further research and, broaden the horizon of research and nursing, I think.
Thanks, Rinsi. That was an inspiring talk on decolonizing nursing, and you linked it very well with the clinical practice.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to future nurses or to your younger self?
Yes. I always say, nursing is a field that, with endless possibilities, nursing has become more global. Thinking about it like global citizens, and so nursing is a profession, it's very global. If you want to go and work anywhere, nursing is that passport in your pocket, that allows you to go anywhere and work anywhere. So I know there are some students going for international placement to Kerala. One of my personal tutor student is going. So to her, I was saying, it's such an exciting and adventurous journey that she's going to be, a part of, because you're seeing the other end of the world. Your skill, your basic assets are going to be the same. Your nursing is like an art and science, which we all know. So if you can carry that art and science with you, that basic skill sets, that compassion, that, that caring. If you carry that along with your clinical skills, I highly emphasize the clinical knowledge and skills that you need, along with that communication and your nursing as an art. You can go anywhere, beyond language, beyond cultures, beyond colors. Nursing is something that, that applies to anybody, everywhere, So embrace nursing, love nursing, be passionate about it, and think about, the research that you can do in that, look at how people have developed research within nursing, from the simplest of the simplest ideas, which has made huge changes in the life of people, So I think, to me, making change in somebody's life, no matter how small or big that is, a nurse has got the power and the endless possibility to do that. So that would be that, so to feel that pride in you, and that,
That's great. Thank you, Rincy. Thank you. That was very thoughtful piece of advice for our future nurses. So I would like to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So is it a coffee or a tea before a lecture session?
Coffee.
Good. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Okay. If you could teach anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, that's a very tricky question. India? Sorry, it's a rapid fire.
Yeah. So you're going back to where you started. That's great.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in India do you think?
To the nursing students in Kerala.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's your go-to stress reliever after a long day?
Family, my prayer, my meditation. Yes, I think my prayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If you weren't a nurse or an academic in nursing, where or what would you be doing now?
All my friends at school thought I'm going to become a journalist, or I might write. So
Fantastic.
if I always think, if I retire, I want to have some peaceful time for myself, where I could just soak myself in reading some books and writing something. That might be a luxury for me. If there is some money to pay the mortgage, that would be something that I would love to do.
Fantastic. I look forward to reading your book soon, Rincy. So, one thing you love about teaching in nursing, and one thing you would want to change. So, one thing you love about teaching in nursing.
Okay. I would say I love teaching clinical aspects of nursing, I sometimes
can see that.
I sometimes think, there is a lot of emphasis on the art, part of nursing, the communication skills, the caring and compassionate, aspects of nursing. There is a lot of emphasis on that. That is something that I find very different to what, from where I have come from. But the clinical aspect, understanding the anatomy, the physiology, what happens when anything happens, probably that is because I am a person of detail. I want to know why it happened in this way, the reasons behind it. Yes, you do need your communication. You do need your compassion. Somebody might argue that there are medical professionals to see the clinical the reasons, but I always think you've got to have strong clinical knowledge, strong background of anatomy and physiology. So that is what I think, that I'm very passionate about that.
Thanks, Rincy. It was wonderful, talking with you, and thanks for sharing all your journey and your experience. Is there any one last thing you would like to tell us before we end our podcast?
I think in general, I feel having that sense of gratitude makes any single person live the life to their best, to enjoy the moment, and to feel fulfilled, whether it's a nurse or anybody, if this is going out to the student nurses, living the moment, embracing what we have, and filling your heart with the gratitude makes you the best of the best person.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rinsi. Thank you. You're listening to the Nurses Beyond Borders podcast with me, your host, Joshi.